So let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun with VPython GlowScript style. First thing that you'll do is create a GlowScript account. So if you clicked on this link, it would take you to this page and you'd click sign in. And if you didn't have an account, you'd be prompted to do that. And so we'll just make the assumption that you've done that. So when you sign in, then your username will show up here. So it's important to have that up and going. And then since I wrote all this stuff, that it would behoove you to read all this stuff, but what I want to do is jump to actually working with the programs. And so the very first thing that you're going to do is create your first program based on a sample. And I talked to you about how to use comments and make sure that the name is included in the file name. And then if your instructor asks you to submit, you'll have to do that by whatever means they tell you to do it. So what you would do is you would click on My Sample, and you see it's this beautiful sphere. And if I hold down the Control key on a Mac and then move the mouse around, I can change the camera angle that I'm looking at this three-dimensional sphere. Pretty, huh? So anyways, what you're going to do is click on Edit this program, and this will show you what I have in there. Now this first line is automatically put there based on whatever version of GlowScript is running. The sample that you are looking at here is from a previous version, though it still works. But this first line is always put in for you so you don't mess with it. You notice the next four lines have pound sign or hashtag, whatever you want to call it, and you notice that everything is grayed out, and that means that the GlowScript is not going to try to do anything with those. It just looks at them as comments. And so what you're going to do is you're going to copy those last lines, and then you are going to go to your account, and since you will possibly be needing to share this with your instructor, let's go into the public area and create a new program. And so to make sure that it has my name in it, there's David's first program. And again, your instructor might have some other ways that they would like you to label things. So I'm going to go ahead and create it. And you notice this is a newer version of GlowScript that's running now. But what I'm going to do is paste what I had in there, and then I'm going to replace the no name with my name, and you should replace it with your name. And I'm going to replace the sum date with today's date, and you'll want to include whatever date is appropriate for you, and this is the very first version. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and run this program and make sure that it looks right, and it looks just like the one that I had created. One thing that you need to pay attention to is that this sphere, you'll notice it's blue, and that's because GlowScript recognizes it as a shape. If I, on the other hand, decided to spell sphere properly but use a capital letter, you'll notice that it no longer has blue color to it, and if I try to run it, it's going to yell at me that, hey, in line 6, sphere is not defined. So what I will do is edit the program, get rid of this, and turn that back into the proper sphere. Run it again just to be sure. Cool. So now what I want to do is, if your instructor wants you to submit this, then what you need to do is share or export this program. And so here's a link, and it tells you here it needs to be in a public folder, not a private folder, and that's why I had you do that. And so you would just copy this link and submit it however your instructor asks you to, via email, through a learning management system like Canvas, or whatever. Okay, so moving right along, what I'm going to do is jump back, go back to my instructions and look at lesson 2. So what the purpose is to adjust that very first program to get a sense of this three-dimensional space. And so I have another example And you'll notice that there's also a challenge and more challenging. And you'll see as you go through these that sometimes there's even more challenging. And so don't just wimp out and do the basic example. Push on. So once again, I'll go to the example. I'll look and see that it is a red ball this time, red sphere, that is above the center and to the right of center. And it's kind of hard to tell. Z is in and out. It's kind of hard to tell Z-wise unless you have things in multiple Z positions so you can see that. So again, what I would do is edit this program. I would copy everything but that first line, and then I would go once again to my account, to my public folder. I'd create a new program, and I would call this one David's second program. I'll create. I will paste that in, and what I want to do according to this is for me to choose a position, size, and color. And so, and I also says a named sphere. So what we will do is come back to this program, and again, we'll put the name, the date, this is the first version. Now you notice I have another comment here that says what the following line does. Now, based on where I know we're going with this, that rather than just having sphere and then an open parenthesis, closed parenthesis like we did in the last program, I actually say ball equals. So I'm naming this sphere with the name ball, so that way I could have multiple balls and do things with multiple balls. And then now the position that the sphere is in is 1 unit in the X direction to the right of center, 2 units in the Y direction up from the center, and 1 unit out of the screen from the center. I've chosen the radius, and then the color ends up being in red, green, and blue versions. So since I'm supposed to be changing things, why don't I just go ahead and I'm just going to make everything negative. And I'm going to make the ball larger. And rather than just having the ball being red, I'm going to turn on both red and green. And I'm going to run this program. And you can see that it is bigger and it's moved to the left from where it was, and it's been moved down from where it was. And then once again, it's something that it's hard to tell if it's moved in or out. But I have accomplished what I was supposed to, so I could go ahead and share or export this file. It's in a public folder, so everything's hunky-dory. I could copy that and do whatever my instructor wanted with it. So moving on from there, that the challenge is to place multiple spheres of different sizes and colors in multiple places. And so to do that, I would go back to the program that I just ran, which was David's second program. I would copy it, and then since this is a challenge, what I'm going to do is, again, I want to be able to share it, so I'm putting it in a public program. I'm going to call this David's second program challenge, or something of that nature. And I'm going to create that. I'm going to paste this in. I'm supposed to have multiple spheres. So I'll put lesson 2 challenge. Still the first version of it. Since I'm lazy, I will just copy and paste a few of these, and so that GlowScript doesn't confuse the balls, I'm changing each of the balls' name. So what I'll do is I want them in different places, in different sizes. So I'll go back to this one being 0.5. I'll leave it yellow. And then this one, I'll leave it in that position. I'll leave it large. I will make it magenta by turning on the red and the blue. For this one, I'll say, I'm just making stuff up here. And I said different sizes, right? So how about that being 1 and this being 2? And I'll make this one just green. And I'll make this one just blue. I'll go ahead and run the program. And you can see where they are. And the purpose of this is for you to start getting a sense of where things are. And so, the last thing that I would ask you to do is looking again, if the more challenging, I say go to the VPython help and help link in the upper right hand corner and find out how to create different sorts of 3D shapes. And so I would end up, again, copying what I just did, creating a new program in a public folder, pasting in what I got from this one, and then making modifications. So this help is right up here. And so I could choose a 3D object. And so if I wanted an arrow, I could click on arrow and it shows an arrow and it shows the position, axis, etc. And then it talks you through how to make use of it. If you're not all jazzed about an arrow, maybe you would about an ellipsoid. And so you could play around with that. So just play around, get some different shapes, because that'll be useful for when you get on to making your initials out of these kinds of shapes. So I hope that this was sufficient to get you started using VPython GlowScript style. Enjoy.